The players, alas, won't get a chance to react in a different way because Mourinho left the club today for the last time. Joining me now are Alex Scott, who plays for Arsenal and England, and Alistair Campbell, who interviewed Mourinho for his book on winners. You're going to have to take him out of the next edition, aren't you?
I don't think so, because I still think he's a winner. I think he's going to be defined now, though, by how he reacts to this and whether he comes back. I think he will come back. I think he should definitely join that long list of people who never go back. I think something has gone very, very badly wrong.
Any idea what?
Well, I think that, the old cliche, he's lost the dressing room. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The players who performed for him last year are not performing for him this year. I mean, one of his fellow Premier League managers has got a theory about Mourinho that he's quite a violent personality and his techniques of management are quite violent, which is fantastic when everybody signs up and you're doing well.
Sounds like Arsene Wenger.
In the book, my book,
yes.
Jose Mourinho's on the back cover, and I put it on the back because I think it's a brilliant quote that defines a winning philosophy. He said, "I say to the players as they're going out, enjoy the game. They know what I mean. If they win, they enjoy it. If they lose, they don't. That's it." And I think that there is a limitation to that as a philosophy. And Wenger, who you mentioned, for example, I think who survived far worse periods, he's never got as low as this in the Premier League, and he's got in the Champions League every year. But I think he does have this sense of football and sport being about values and actually being something deeper. And I think that when you've got Abramovich at the top as this kind of pretty dictatorial figure that none of us really know anything about because he never puts himself up to before the fans or the public, and Mourinho is an utter obsessive, all about winning, when it goes wrong, where does it go and what's there? And I think that there's a deeper story there. And I do think, you mentioned the doctor, some of the incidents that have been with the players.
You're looking for the hubris, really, aren't you? You're looking for the one event where the ego overreached itself, and it could be the dressing room, it could be the doctor. I'm interested, Alex, in what Alistair said about the manager's role in how happy you are when you're playing. It to outsiders all seems strange. Surely once the whistle goes, your enjoyment of a game is all about what's happening on the park, not what the fellow or the lady in the dugout is doing.
Yeah, no, the relationship between a manager and a player is definitely a key one. If I look back in my playing career, when I was playing at my best, it's always when I've had that personal and great relationship with my manager, bringing out the best in me.
How do they do that?
It's just, I think players in the modern game, you do like that, arm around the shoulder, you want to feel like you're really valued and that sort of thing. So I think we are going to see a lot more things come out. But I think the whole topic around losing the whole dressing room, I think in football you don't lose the whole dressing room, you will lose one or two players, and if they're the big characters, I think that's when it can be a problem, and I think that's what we're seeing.
If they've got a direct line to the guy at the top, and agents, I think now, have got direct lines in all over the place. I think even for a manager like Mourinho, it's possible to get undermined, even with somebody like Abramovich. Alex and I were both saying outside that we both thought, actually, they'd give him till the end of the season, because they're not going to get in the Champions League. No. He's written that off, Abramovich has written that off. They're not going to get a manager in who's going to be thinking about that.
That's what I mean. If you look at Mourinho now...
They could qualify for
if they win the Champions League.
If they win this season, so that might be why they've decided to...
Well, that's a pretty... I think the chance...
It'd be a big ask for a caretaker manager. Have you ever had an experience where the manager has sapped your joy to play? You felt that you were not getting the support from the dugout or the dressing room that you wanted, and as a result, possibly that translated onto the pitch?
I wouldn't necessarily say sapped. I think in terms of the style of football that you wanted to play, all players weren't on board. But as a player, a professional player, you go out and you do what the manager's asking of you. So it was interesting for when he came out and he said he felt betrayed because, players, you listen to that and then you think, OK, well, hold up, I'm trying to do my job and I am working for you. So for him to publicly come out and say that, I think that was the end point.
These top managers, when they're doing these interviews, they're basically talking to the players all the time. They're never not talking to them.
As players, we're watching that.
Maybe to each other, but he was basically, that was a deliberate message to the players, and it's because he tried everything else and it hadn't worked. And I suspect that Abramovich watched that and thought, hold on, he really has lost them. If he's now talking about betrayal and they're going to feel just the same going backwards because of what he said. And listen, I think there are Hollywood films to be made about this because it's such a spectacular fall. I still think he'll be back, by the way.
I think they have to make the Jamie Vardy story first, don't they?
Well, he's got to walk on part, that goal the other night.
Film. Very briefly, how much difference can a manager make to a good player, turning him into a brilliant player? Because Mourinho famously told Frank Lampard, I think, that he was the best player in the world at one point, which for all Frank's skills probably isn't true. And yet he played as if he believed it after that intervention.
Yeah, when you have a manager filling you with confidence, and like I said, it goes back to that mutual respect thing. As a player, you want to give your manager your all, and that does it. It makes you go up 10%, a whole nother level on the pitch.
But
And
Mourinho
that's what he
told
was
me
good
that
at.
Hazard was the 4th best player in the world after Messi, Ronaldo and Iniesta. And I thought of that when Hazard was falling over and seemed to me refusing to play the other night. What has gone on between them to go from Mourinho seeing him as the best player in England and the 4th best player in the world to clearly a relationship of seemed to be mutual
We'll have to
contempt.
wait. We'll have to wait for the movie to find out, Alistair. Alex, thank you very much indeed. And that is all, alas, that we have time for.